In a private Los Angeles venue in 1968, an invitation-only gathering of 40 elite martial artists assembled on the West Coast. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and skepticism. A single question dominated everyone's thoughts. Was Bruce Lee authentic or merely hype? The space reeked of tension and doubt. Tournament fighters lined the walls, arms folded, expressions hardened. These were men who had built empires from single dojos, whose students revered them as deities. All waited to see if the rumors would hold up under pressure. Bruce Lee entered, standing 5'7" and weighing 130 pounds, moving. With such fluidity, it seemed he operated under different physical laws than everyone else. His opponent, Chuck Norris, 6 feet tall, 175 pounds, America's most feared tournament competitor. Chuck had trained Hollywood's tough guys, remained undefeated in official competitions, and faced down the best fighters across 3 continents without a single loss. The height difference was stark, almost absurd. Some of Chuck's students exchanged knowing glances, certain this would end quickly with their teacher victorious. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Another fraud, they whispered. Others questioned sharply. If Lee was genuine, let him prove it. Bruce was known as the television actor from the Green Hornet, the man promoting a revolutionary style that discarded kata, rejected tradition, and violated every principle these martial artists had spent decades mastering. If he failed here, before every important sensei in Southern California, his reputation wouldn't just suffer, it would vanish entirely. He'd become another actor unable to back up the marketing, another Hollywood pretender. Bruce stepped into the ring barefoot, wearing black pants and a white shirt, his face serene as still water. Chuck positioned himself opposite, professional, yet cautious. Every instinct told him something didn't add up. With an edge to his voice, Chuck issued a challenge. Hit me. 3 seconds later, every black belt present realized they'd been training incorrectly their entire careers. Chuck hesitated, not from fear but calculation. He'd earned respect the difficult way. Tournament after tournament, victory after victory, Air Force training in Korea, studying under Japanese masters, earning black belts through discipline and sacrifice. If this TV personality was fraudulent, Chuck would expose it swiftly and cleanly. If Lee was legitimate, Chuck needed to understand how. Tournament officials stood ringside. Rival school coaches watched with crossed arms and skeptical faces. Bruce remained motionless, hands relaxed, breathing quiet and controlled. That stillness made it dangerous. That's what set off Chuck's alarm bells. Chuck threw a jab, clean, fast, textbook technique that had initiated 100 winning sequences. Bruce's head moved 1 inch left, just 1 inch. The punch sliced through air where his face had been a heartbeat earlier. Chuck immediately reset, professional instinct engaged. He threw a cross with complete commitment, hip rotating, weight transferring, technically flawless. Bruce pivoted on his rear heel, the movement almost imperceptible, and the fist whispered past his jaw like a phantom. This wasn't chance, Chuck sensed it viscerally. Every strike he launched met empty space. Bruce wasn't even perspiring. His breathing remained unchanged. His eyes stayed calm, focused, reading Chuck like text in a language Chuck hadn't known existed. Chuck was faster than 99% of opponents he'd faced. His hands were quick, footwork tight, timing championship caliber. Yet Bruce read him as if the book were already finished, simply waiting for Chuck to reach the conclusion. And Bruce's hands still hadn't moved. Not to block, not to counter. They simply remained there, loose and prepared, anticipating something. The audience leaned forward unconsciously, sensing something unusual without quite comprehending what. Chuck committed fully. No more testing. He stepped in with a cross at full power, championship timing, the kind of punch that ended fights and won trophies. In 3 beats, Bruce took a half step to the outside angle. Chuck's fist sliced through, space where Bruce's head had been a fraction earlier. Bruce's weight shifted forward, flowing like oil, impossibly controlled. His palm touched Chuck's solar plexus, 6 inches of travel from chamber to impact. No wind-up, no shoulder twitch, no telegraph whatsoever. The strike appeared to materialize from thin air. Chuck's lungs shut down, air rushed from his body. He staggered back 2 steps, hands instinctively clutching his chest, struggling to remember how to breathe. His diaphragm spasmed, his knees buckled. The room fell completely silent. 10 seconds passed, 20. Nobody breathed or moved. What they'd witnessed shouldn't exist in the physical realm. Bruce hadn't blocked Chuck's punch or dodged dramatically. He'd controlled the entire exchange with less effort than closing a door, standing in one spot, as if rooted to the earth itself. Chuck dropped his hands completely. He stood there, breathing hard, attempting to process what just occurred, staring at Bruce like he was seeing something for the first time that he couldn't name, categorize, or fit into his understanding. He'd trained since his teenage years, since his first day in a Koreandojang during Air Force service, studied under masters across 3 nations, drilled 10,000 kicks, thrown 100,000 punches, sparred thousands of rounds, earned respect from men who rarely gave it. He'd built a reputation as one of America's most dangerous martial artists, someone other fighters studied and emulated, and in 3 beats, perhaps 2 seconds total, this man had dismantled him without breaking a sweat, without even appearing to try particularly hard. Effortlessly, Bruce stepped back, posture relaxing like a cat finished playing, and offered a small nod, not smug, not condescending, not gloating, just acknowledgement, simple respect between warriors who understood what had transpired. Chuck didn't feel embarrassed. That was the peculiar part. He didn't feel humiliated, angry, or defensive. He felt something else entirely: respect, deep, bone-level respect transcending technique, style, or victory, and hunger, the kind that emerges when you realize the map you followed, your entire life is incomplete, that entire territories exist you didn't know about, and someone just handed you a compass pointing toward them. He approached Bruce, every eye locked on them, everyone present knowing they were witnessing something that would be discussed for years, that would become legend. "What was that?" Chuck asked. Bruce's answer was calm, almost gentle, like a teacher explaining a simple concept to a curious student. Not speed, timing. Chuck didn't hesitate, didn't need to protect his pride or reputation. "Teach me," Bruce smiled. Not the smile of someone who'd proven a point or won an argument, but of someone who'd found what he was seeking, who'd discovered a kindred spirit, someone who valued growth over ego. "You teach me too," Bruce explained at once, rewiring Chuck's entire understanding of combat. Most fighters telegraph their moves before throwing them. They shift weight early, tense shoulders before punching, hips before kicking. These are tiny movements, fractions of seconds, but they reveal the roadmap of what's coming. If you can read that map, you don't need to be faster than the technique, just faster than the intention behind it. You intercept the thought before it becomes action. You move in the gap between decision and execution. Economy of motion means no wasted energy, no excess movement, everything stripped to its essential core. You collapse the gap between wanting to strike and actually landing it. Make the distance between thought and impact disappear. Chuck listened, as if his survival depended on understanding every word. His entire fighting framework was being rebuilt from the foundation. Bruce wasn't lecturing or posturing, no arrogance in his voice. He was genuinely curious about Chuck's knowledge because Bruce had a problem he couldn't solve alone, a gap in his game that frustrated him. His punches were surgical, his trapping world-class, his hand speed legendary, but his kicks were good, not great, and Chuck's kicks were legendary. Everyone in that room knew it. They began training together in Chuck's San Fernando Valley backyard. No cameras, no journalists, no audience, no witnesses to what happens when 2 masters tear down their egos and build something new. Just 2 men, a worn heavy bag hanging from a tree, and an obsessive desire to improve. Bruce brought his wooden dummy, the Mook Jong, scarred and dented from years of strikes. Chuck brought resistance bands, stretching routines, and a nearly pathological work ethic. They sparred for hours in the California heat, shirts soaked, muscles burning, pushing each other beyond perceived limits. This wasn't master and student, it was partnership. 2 equals trading knowledge as currency. That's what made it rare. Most legends don't train with each other, they train at each other. Competing, protecting secrets, guarding egos. Bruce and Chuck did the opposite. They opened up, they shared, they failed in front of each other and admitted when something didn't work. One day, Chuck threw a full-speed roundhouse at Bruce's ribs, the kind that had won championships and ended fights in the 2nd round. Bruce caught it mid-arc, ankle in hand like a steel trap, and showed Chuck the exact pole and counter from that first night, the mechanics he'd used to collapse Chuck's balance. This time, Chuck felt it from inside. He understood the timing, weight transfer, angle, saw how Bruce's weight shifted before contact, how his hips rotated to generate the pole, how his hand position controlled the angle. They drilled it 50 times until Chuck could execute it himself, until his body knew the movement without thought. Bruce grinned, sweat dripping. "Now you have it too." Chuck caught his breath. "But you still can't kick high enough." Bruce's smile faded. His jaw tightened. "I know." One afternoon during sidekick drills in blazing sun, Shirts off, legs burning. Bruce threw a kick at the bag. Fast, sharp, clean, missing center by an inch. He cursed in Cantonese. Chuck stepped in, adjusted Bruce's stance, pushed his hips forward slightly, rotated his standing foot 15 degrees. Tiny adjustment, barely visible, but it changed everything. Bruce reset, chambered, fired. The bag exploded backward as if hit by a car. The chain rattled violently. Impact echoed like a gunshot. Bruce looked at Chuck with wonder in his eyes. "You just gave me 2 more inches." Chuck grinned. "You gave me 2 seconds. That was the trade." They were teaching each other to think differently, to see a fighter's conversation where the best listener wins, to stay humble when the world calls you master. At the Colosseum in Rome, 2,000-year-old ancient stone that had witnessed more violence than any place on Earth. They filmed Way of the Dragon. Bruce directed. Chuck played the villain. Rome, 1972. They'd rehearsed choreography for weeks, mapped every move frame by frame, every angle calculated precisely, every strike timed to the exact moment needed for the camera. Safety was paramount. Control was everything, precision over power. But during one take, the flying sidekick sequence near the climax, something shifted. The line between performance and reality blurred. Chuck launched himself into the air at full speed, muscles coiling and exploding. Bruce countered with a sweep, spinning low and fast. They'd performed this exact combination 100 times in practice, rehearsals, blocking sessions. But this time, for perhaps 3 seconds, it stopped being choreography. It stopped being a movie. The speed was real. The intent was real. The impact points were millimeters from being dangerous, from ending careers or worse. The trust required to not accidentally injure each other was absolute and terrifying. Chuck's kick passed so close to Bruce's head that Bruce could feel the wind, the air displacement. Bruce's sweep came within inches of taking out Chuck's supporting leg, of sending him crashing to the stone floor. The crew went completely quiet, camera still rolling, everyone frozen, holding their breath. They'd just watched 2 masters speak. A language most people don't know exists. Language written in movement, trust and years of shared sweat, failure and breakthrough. The legacy, when Bruce died the following year, too young, too sudden. Cerebral edema nobody saw coming that took him in his sleep. Chuck didn't just lose a friend, co-star or training partner. He lost the person who saw his potential when others saw limits, who demanded he reach higher when he wanted to settle, who made him better by refusing to let him be comfortable. The lesson from that 1968 night wasn't about who won the encounter. It was about what happens when you're good enough to be dangerous, but smart enough to remain teachable. Bruce entered that ring to prove everything and protect nothing. His reputation was at stake, but his ego wasn't an obstacle. Chuck could have defended his territory, protected his reputation, dismissed Bruce as just another actor playing a martial artist role. Instead, he chose the harder path. He chose growth over comfort. Here's the question, more specific than ego versus growth. When someone shows you a level you didn't know existed, when they make you look at your craft and realize you've missed something fundamental, do you protect your pride? Or do you say, teach me? Do you defend what you've already built? Or do you risk it for something greater? If this resonated with you, consider what your own teach me moment might be.